Hi, and welcome to the Still Rolling BJJ podcast. I'm Matthew Montgomery. Today's guest is somebody who embodies grit, humility, and resilience on and off of the mats. Tom Winkler is a martial artist and a purple belt under Logan Santos at Santos Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in Houston, Georgia, where he teaches the beginner class every Wednesday night. Tom's martial arts journey started early, karate at age 4, taekwondo to keep up with his brother, and MMA in 2009, eventually finding his home in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Along the way, he's trained with some of the most respected names in the game, from Vanderlei Silva and Shogun Rua to Roberto Traven, Diego Saraiva, and DJ Wegeson. But what makes Tom's journey stand out isn't just the big names, it's been setbacks. He's battled through more injuries than most would ever come back from, and he's honest about the lessons those injuries have taught him, letting go of pride, learning to be okay, to be humbled, and finding a sustainable way to keep training for life. Tom's also got a little bit of an unmistakable veteran-style sense of humor, so you'll hear it come through, and he's the kind of guy who doesn't hold back. Nothing is off the table in this conversation. So today we're going to dive into Tom's journey, what kept him rolling after adversity, and the perspective he brings to mats and to life. Please welcome to the Still Rolling BJJ podcast, Tom Winkler. How are you doing, man?
Wonderful. Thank you for having me, my friend.
Yeah. So Tom, you trained down in Georgia.
Yes, sir.
How long have you been training? Tell me about what got you into jiu-jitsu.
Overall or specifically in jiu-jitsu?
We can start with overall. We can talk about your whole
Okay.
journey.
The whole journey's kind of been lifelong for me. I started at the ripe age of 4 years old in Joe Corley karate, as most kids get the opportunity to do. Um, I didn't really ever fall in love with it too much because I was the clumsy kid, unfortunately, out of the family. So whenever they say punch, I somehow punch to the side and never in front of me. I couldn't get all the katas down, and my brother was really kind of the star of karate. So I kind of felt at a young age that I didn't really want that. So I got out. Well, that ensued my brother. He's an older brother, by the way. So as older brothers do, he used to whoop me all the time. It was a constant Tom and Jerry cat and mouse back and forth. Later on in life, we go a couple years after I get out of karate, he's still beating my butt. So I'm like, oh, I want to go take taekwondo. Maybe I'll beat him with a different form. So I started taekwondo probably at the age 8 or 9. And I stuck with that for a good little while. Well, it was fun, but it wasn't something that captivated me. I never really came up with like the warrior spirit of I got to fight. My whole family's military, so I'm sure as you've seen, the more capacity for violence, the more peaceful people will become. So I was raised in a pretty peaceful household. So I had no desire to really fight. It wasn't until later in life, my brother had become a really good wrestler, and I was actually pretty interested in that. And then the whole world of MMA exploded before my eyes. The UFC early days, UFC 1, UFC 2, I was an immediate fan. I already knew. I was like, when I get of age and my mom has no say over what I do, I'm going to go fight in MMA. So I did that pretty quickly afterwards. In the late 2000 aughts, around 2009 is when I solidified and became really serious about MMA. And it became immediately apparent to me the disparage efficacy between a fighter who knew how to grapple and a fighter who only knew stand up. And up to that point, I only knew stand up. So under the advice of my coach then, which was Steve Hall, this was while I was training at X3 under Helio Moreira. He got me into jiu-jitsu then. It was kind of supplemental to a striking style where, I was mostly making people sit still for a butt whooping. Because I strip away all defenses and do what people have been doing to me for years and years. And finally learned that. Well, after that first class, it just started fanning that flame to where eventually I wasn't showing up to Muay Thai class anymore just to be there at jiu-jitsu. And since then, since about 2012 is when I had to walk out of there again for a little bit because, I was blessed with the birth of my son. Well, now I don't have all the time in the world to go be a gym bum and not be putting bread on the table. So I left pretty quickly. I think I made it a whole 6 months after my son was born. And looked at my coach. I was like, hey, I can't show up for 4 to 6 hours a day at the gym anymore and do this MMA thing. I got to go get a real job. I don't care if it's working in a restaurant or digging ditches. I got to go put bread on the table. And of course, as any true addiction, that only lasted a little while. I came pouring right back to it in 2016 by getting my son involved into a karate place, and they had kind of a really small jujitsu circuit. So when I showed up there, it was maybe 5 to 6 people in the class, and it was very cheap, which I thought, "Hey, it's right close to my home, I can afford it." And again, it's like any true addiction, it blew up again, and then it was me training 6 days a week, 4 hours a day if I could. Um, but then, of course, with the tale of aging comes our rolling has to change a little bit. So in order to continue doing that, everything now from when I started looks completely different than when I started as, a fiery 20-year-old, going into MMA. Now everything is very, very practical and very calculated and paced.
Yeah, yeah. I can identify with everything that you just said. I understand leaving. Half the time, whenever I see a younger guy in the gym start, you know, he's training really hard, he's super consistent, and then we hear that his wife or his girlfriend are pregnant, and then I go, oh, okay. So
Bye-bye.
we got about 6 months left with you, and then we'll see you again in a couple of years. Um, hopefully we see him. And that was kind of the same with me. I left and coached baseball. I did some, other things, and yeah, but the mats are always there. You can always come back. What do you think it is that really attracted you more to grappling than your Muay Thai and your striking? Like,
That's a wonderful question. I wish I could articulate that better other than it just seemed more important to me. It was funner. I always relate it to there's a lot more hobbyists in jiu-jitsu than there are in Muay Thai or boxing because when you go to there, you're dealing with real damage from people who are, even though they're your training partners, everybody's trying to win. It's a highly competitive environment, and you take a lot of damage from that. A lot of CTE, a lot of TBI exists in that realm. Jiu-jitsu made it seem more like it was, the puppies playing to learn how to fight, the kittens playing to learn how to fight. There's a lot more capacity for spiritual growth inside of the jiu-jitsu mat than there was in MMA, Muay Thai, and boxing and stuff. It was a much more welcoming environment. And plus, man, it's some of the moves when you first see them as a white belt and you're watching these purple belts and brown belts do wizard things to people, you're like, I got to learn this.
yeah,
I really got to learn this. Falling a victim to it, I guess, would say is what ignited my passion for it so much over any other art.
yeah, it,
A punch is easy to block. A kick is, there's only so many ways you can block it effectively. There's a billion ways to do jujitsu, and it's all unique for the individual, so much more tailored to them than any other fighting art is.
yeah. I like that piece of it a lot. I've got some training partners, you know, have a really hard time with me, but then they destroy the guy that kills me. And it's definitely a matchup of, styles make fights is kind of the best way to put it. Do you think that friendships in the striking arts are as strong as jujitsu then? If you know, because obviously, jujitsu, you get competitive guys on the mats too. I mean, that's
Well,
the
absolutely,
same,
yeah.
but um, I wonder if just the close proximity and the fact that you're not just not trying to hurt each other. A lot of times when you're rolling, you're literally trying to protect the other guy from hurting himself when you have the control. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
yeah, I can definitely see that.
Kind of like
Yeah.
judo. If you're throwing a guy and you're not using crash mats, you might take a little off, or when they're going down, you hit it. You're kind of like letting them down instead of just hitting them with earth.
Right. I think that is a large aspect to the brotherhood of jujitsu is that there's times where we can go 100% on each other and we can really throw ourselves at each other and it's controlled and respectful. But at the same time, like you said, if about to Uchimata my partner, I know that we're not in a competition. I need to deliver him extra safely to the mat. Ooh, I'd say it's built upon that earning of trust that, "Hey, I've taken care of you." Whereas, unfortunately, with striking arts, you really can't earn that trust because if you make contact with my glove and I guarded my head, I still feel like even if you pulled the kick, I'm gonna feel like you were trying to take my head off.
Hmm.
It's hyper competitive. It's a Shark Tank at that point. So I don't think there's maybe that could be one of the big reasons is that we are aware of how much the other person has pulled and taken care of us. And I
Yeah,
mean, aside from jujitsu kind of being like a cult and we're all kind of weird and just like each other.
we are. We're all uniquely weird.
Yep.
That's that's another great piece is I've run into so many people, especially recently, that I know for a fact that I would not run into them anywhere else in my life. But now we're pals. Um, so, um, how long have you been teaching?
I started teaching. I've had a lifelong love for teaching. Thing I do is something I pursue. So whether it be, when I was a good fisherman, I wanted to teach then. For jujitsu, I started teaching 2019 as a blue belt. I started teaching the kids classes because I'm sure you're familiar with it yourself. Being what I know about you is we're a very well tenured belt. We've been here for a long time. So even at blue belt, I was afforded the opportunity to teach the kids class. My first adult class over here at my new gym was actually this last Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
We just started that new time slot, and it was a class that I could take over because working construction, unfortunately, doesn't leave me with the ability to get to the gym at 12 or 4 even most days, like most of our classes are. So we created a new class later on at Wednesday at 7 for me to get that teaching opportunity in there.
That's awesome. And that's kids, or is that adults?
Adults,
Okay,
adults, yeah.
great.
It's ages 13 or 13 or 14 and up. But of
Okay,
course, if you want to bring your kid into the class, we're a culture that really takes care of everybody. Like we have a younger female who comes into the adult class a lot of the times. She gets to roll with women that are around her size, and everybody takes care of her.
that's good.
We don't have to worry about the spazzes trying to run all across the mat, going for an ankle pick, running into them. We're
How big
blessed in that
is
regard.
your academy as far as like your adult student population?
Now we're primarily a no-gi academy, and
Okay,
I've been primarily gi since 2016, where I was no-gi before that. So I'm heading up the kind of the gi beginners classes of it.
okay,
Our no-gi side is huge. We're having to rotate people for rolls on the mat. We got a pretty big mat. I'd say we're at least 300 or 400 square feet just on the mat. I could be wrong on that. I'm just trying to estimate in my head real quick. It's pretty big. But the no-gi class is huge. Like we probably have a student population of 80 or 90 students. The
okay,
gi side of it, we probably have a population of 20 to 30.
okay. And as they age, they will start gravitating towards the
Yes.
gi, I imagine.
Yes. We can play old people sloth jujitsu.
Yes, yes. Slow it down for me. Uh, yeah, I enjoy coaching or teaching adult students. I've never taught kids classes. It's not something I would be opposed to if I was asked to do it, but I enjoy, as far as jujitsu goes, working with the new people, and
Yeah.
you get to see them kind of go through all the like those first 6 months phases where they come in thinking they might be capable on day one, and then in the first 20 minutes they realize they absolutely are not. Most of them, some of them come in and they have some wrestling or whatever, but they, when they have that epiphany, when the light bulb goes off, that goes, holy shit, I am like a child. Um, and then when they actually start hitting some things, when they go and land something that you taught them how to do, and then they come running up like a child almost, but in a mentor mentee kind of way. Yeah, like I hit it. It's a rewarding thing. I think the knowledge sharing.
Heck, I still do that with my professor. Like I nailed a foot sweep we saw from J Flow a little while ago. I went up to him. I was like, I did it.
Right?
And it wasn't a white belt, so it counts.
Yeah, yeah. That's yeah. It's good to practice on the white belts. It's extra special when you start hitting it on somebody that knows where, which way is up. Um,
Yeah. And to your point of that, yeah, I love the beginners in jujitsu because it brings me back to that place where I was a beginner and just the wonderment of, oh my God, what did you just do to me? But I love seeing that white belt fervor for it. There's no fervor like a white belt, especially a white belt who just became a blue belt.
yeah,
I love seeing that. I'm there for it every class.
yeah,
When you show a move and their jaw drops, you're like that right there. That's what I felt.
yeah, yeah. And it's that transition from white to blue is
Mhm.
is it's special, and it's harrowing for a lot of guys. Obviously there's the whole adage about blue belts disappear, they quit, and I think it's when they realize that you put the blue belt on and you're the same guy you were yesterday.
Yep,
The expectations go up because now upper belts assume you know how to defend yourself a little bit, uh, and then the white belts all want to go home and tell their girlfriend that they tapped a blue belt.
that's
Uh,
right.
so yeah. Uh, so as far as when you're teaching, what kinds of things are do you start them with? Do you focus purely on like positional drilling, or are you do you mix in submissions right away? The reason I ask is for we started kind of a fundamentals program where I used to um, train at Chitwood, and we didn't teach the white belts, basically your two stripe and below. We didn't teach a submission for like 6 months. Um,
Yeah, I have split feelings on that. I'm aware of the danger side of that of teaching people spazzes. Um, I know my student population pretty well, so I know the classes I can show more difficult things and classes I need to just go to a basic demonstration. Heavy focus on just fundamental and bad positions because every white belt should be comfortable with being in bad positions like side control, mounted. And I focus heavily on escapes back out of those positions and prevention of being in there and maintaining position. Still, my last camp was position over submission. But the guy who directly trained me was take every submission you can get. So I have that fighting style to me, the duality of knowing submission every chance I get. As long as I keep throwing darts in a real competition,
yeah.
throwing darts, they're gonna have to address that and can't attack me. However, in a training environment, it's gonna be a little bit different. We're all sharpening each other's iron. Um, but as to your question there, a heavy focus on fundamental position. We do a lot of positional drills to start off with. If I have the right class and the class members in the class, we'll go ahead and do live sparring. Because even though it's a beginner's class, like we still get blues and purples coming into it all the time.
Yeah.
It's always good to touch up on the fundamentals. But yeah, definitely a very big emphasis on positional drilling. We'll go as far as the roll doesn't continue if the position is lost. If you're in half guard, it doesn't matter if you go back to full guard or side control. As soon as half guard breaks in either direction, reset the position.
Hmm.
Same thing with the backpack. When we start that, it's as soon as the backpack is lost, restart the position.
Yeah, so definitely very constraints based. Now you mentioned the pressure before position. Or I'm sorry, that's my thing. I like pressure before position then submission.
Yeah.
But you said position then submission. What is the lineage? Because that pressure, the position before submission. That I mean, that's a kind of a like a Howard or SBG kind of. Um,
Hey, SBG. Yeah, yeah. I'm very familiar with those guys.
okay,
We got a couple great locations, a couple good guys, really great black belts in my area for them, and
okay,
they're always great competition at the comps. Um, as for the lineage of that more so was taught to me through Nobu and Yao, which would be Andre Pederneiros. Diego Saraiva was the big one to teach me that because Diego will hold you in S mount for 30 minutes if you wanted to. Um, that was their big focus. My direct black belt at that time was DJ Wegeson, and he was definitely more focused on the submission aspect of it. But yeah, I would say Diego Saraiva, Nobu and Yao was the position over submission people.
okay, cool. Um, yeah, I get into the kind of the lineage. I don't think it's a critical thing. You can learn jujitsu if you don't have great lineage. I'm not trying to gatekeep saying you got to have this or that, but I just am a little bit of a nerd about it. I like to kind of,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, my current lineage, because they closed the other gym location I was going to. So rather than drive almost 2 hours to get to the new location, because at the same time they closed, I moved even further away.
Mhm.
So I started up another person that I've known for a while, had trained with before. In fact, he's been beating my butt since he was 14 years old. Um, Logan Santos, and he's directly under Henzo Gracie's lineage. Because it's Henzo Gracie, Paul Creighton, Logan. That's his lineage.
That's cool. It's funny. I just got my ass kicked last night by a guy that trained when he was a kid, and we have these little assassins coming up that are just they're hard to deal
Yeah.
with. They're blue belts, but they got their blue
Yeah.
belt after already training for a decade as a kid, and they just weren't eligible for the adult belts yet. It's
Yep. And
it's a
that's how
great
Logan
thing.
was.
Yeah, it's a great thing. It's frustrating as an old guy that didn't have jiu-jitsu when I was young, because I think I get a little bit of a target sometimes, being sort of a little bit salty.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If they see the gray in your hair, that doesn't make them go easier on who does it.
No, and not that they're, I think I'm in that phase where like I'm not so old that people look at me like I'm old and feeble, like
Right.
I haven't lost everything yet,
Right.
but I also think that there's a little bit of that age and wisdom where some of these younger guys, they want to come and get a roll with me to kind of show that, you know, they're going to pass me up any minute.
Right. They
So,
don't think you're too old to do it. They just think you're aging out and might be a little easier to beat than you were 5 years ago. And I get that one a lot.
you know, if I was at my technical level now that I was, when their age,
Tell me about it.
yeah, there might be a different
Yeah.
conversation.
Right.
But I'm not, and they're awesome because they're getting in early, and they're going to be able to, hopefully progress all the way through to their black belts with a lot of gas left in the tank.
Hmm.
So, have you competed much in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu specifically?
Not an incredible amount, honestly. I did Naga many years ago. I did a lot of in-house competitions. I've never competed under IBJJF. I was actually just talking to my professor that, especially at the purple belt level now at my age, I need to get
Mm-hmm.
back out there and do it again.
How old
Because
are
it's
you?
always 41.
Okay,
So I'd kind of think, what am I, masters for?
Masters 3, Masters
Masters
4
three. Okay,
is
yeah.
46. I'm
So
paying
that's
attention
right.
to that because next year at Worlds I'll be Masters 4.
Okay. Oh, we're in the same bracket right now. I could see you in the
Yeah,
absolute.
yeah. Except
Okay.
I'm a blue belt, but
Oh,
I'll,
oh, well,
and
you can still enter the absolute as a blue belt in the purple belt division.
okay, that's true.
You can still sign up to do it.
Okay.
Yep. But I've thought about doing that just to see how bad I'm gonna get my butt whipped by a competition brown belt.
I've been having some conversations with a couple of guys that have competed at Worlds in the last couple of years, and when we talk about, there are some absolute, obviously the savages that show up to Worlds, that are, you know, D1 wrestlers. If they're obviously
Mhm.
blue and purple belt, then obviously they became savages in other avenues, whether it was mixed martial arts or wrestling. But you have a few savages, and then you just have people that can afford a plane ticket that, are also really into jujitsu. So I imagine that like the difference in levels that you could possibly be matched up with in those first rounds at Worlds will be, a real crapshoot.
Yeah, yeah, it could be wild. It's luck of the draw at that point. Are
Yeah,
you getting the guy who's slated to win the whole thing right
yeah,
off the bat? Or are you getting the guy who just wanted to be there and
yeah,
was really not prepared to be there?
yeah.
But like you said, you'll find animals at those comps sometimes.
Well,
It's it can be interesting to see it play out.
that's the great thing about this sport is, especially when you get into like those brown belt and black belt levels, if you go to Worlds, you may get matched up with a Mighty Mouse. Mighty Mouse, Demetrius Johnson. He did the absolute of brown belt a couple of years ago. I don't know if you saw the
Yep,
highlight, but it was like
I did.
for anybody listening that doesn't know who this guy is, they call him Mighty Mouse because he was was he a bantamweight or was he smaller? So he's
He
like
might have been.
he's
Yeah,
135
he's one.
pounds.
Didn't he fight at 125 as well?
I think he
I
might
think he
have,
did
but I think he was
125,
in an
135,
era.
145.
I don't
Demetrius,
know
don't
that
hate me. I'm sorry.
I don't think that they had the smaller division. I think bantamweight was as small as it went when
Well,
he was a
okay,
champ.
okay.
Um, but he destroyed everybody. He went through his entire division twice. He is maybe pound for pound. If he's not a goat, he's top 5 all time pound for pound. Really cool guy. But he went to Worlds and he had never belted while he was fighting mixed martial arts. He got up to brown belt and went to Worlds and competed in absolute. And so in the absolute finals, he was up against an ultra heavy. Demetrius was in there probably, I put him at probably 150 pounds maybe, going up against a guy that was probably 275. Uh,
At least, at
and
least.
did you see it? he got this guy turtled up. When he got the turtle locked in, he was able to capture the collar and jump over, pull him all the way over into that deep lapel choke. It was beautiful. That's
Yeah,
how he won gold.
he's one of the most masterful wizards at putting the whole fight game together that we will ever see in our
Yeah.
lifetime.
Yeah, and
His fight coordination is it's disturbing how good it is.
yeah, and if you're at his weight, or if you go into the absolute at that belt, guess what? You may end up having a match with that guy.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
there's not another sport like that.
Right.
You're not gonna get into Master 6 and then just get into a basketball tournament against like LeBron. That's
Right.
not gonna
Yeah.
happen.
That's a good way to
Would
put it.
never happen.
Yep.
But you can do that in jiu-jitsu, and you can go train with people that if you're a jiu-jitsu nerd and you watch these things, you can go train with these people. So it's a cool thing. So you had some injuries over the years.
Oh
that
gosh,
you mentioned.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Let's get into it.
All right. I'll try to go chronologically here. At white belt, in 2011, I believe was the year, I was swept out of the De La Riva position, and my sleeve was held onto and landed on the shoulder. Got a phase 3 AC separation where my collarbone, my shoulder blade all blew apart. That took a good long while from that one to get back to the mats because I had major tendon and ligament damage. Opted for no surgery because, of course, it's just the collarbone's going to be a little springy here from now on. They said everything else would go back. After that, I cannot even begin to describe how many times my ankles have been broken. I don't know how many ligaments I got left in the right one. I have lost the LCL and the MCL and the PCL in the right knee. I am heel hook proof in the right knee, and my leg rotates all the way around just about. And people look at me with a disgusted face every time they do it. They're like, "Oh," I'm like, "Yeah, it's okay. We're
Yeah.
good. Keep going." But the left one's still pretty good. The left one, all I've damaged on this one is the LCL. That one tore partially, but on the right knee, it's a complete tear of LCL, MCL, and PCL. Have not opted for the reconstructive surgery on that either yet. It hadn't been wonky enough. I am a big hiker, so it's starting to come into play now. My A's and the ACL is loosening up, so I probably will be a knee surgery candidate soon. Um, I have had, I think it came from my professor now, back when he was 14 or 15. We were at a jiu-jitsu like get together thing where all a bunch of different gyms do like a big seminar.
Mhm.
And I remember Paul coming up and pointing me out because Paul knew me at the time because I had cross-trained with him a bunch. And he was like, "Hey, Logan, roll with this guy." And, he was a green belt and I'm like a 220-pound 4-stripe white belt. I'm like, "Okay, yeah, I'll roll with him." "Sorry,
Mhm.
kid, you're about to get crushed." He armbarred me so badly that I remember my distal tendon hurt forever after that. And then flash forward, I had another work incident, and the distal tendon for the bicep has completely popped off. So I have
Ow.
one bicep now on a good arm. Um, God, other than that, I've cracked ribs multiple times. Those are honestly, through all the other injuries, the cracked ribs were the hardest one to get back in the mat throughout. Because I'm an idiot. If like when I popped this bicep off, I was back at the gym later that night using that arm to choke people. Because I was an idiot. Like, oh, I'm just going to be dumb and tough. I'm going to get through this.
Yeah.
The lesson I've definitely learned from that, man, is to tap and tap often. There's a lot of the injuries I've had, especially the knee one. Now, granted, it was a white belt reaping my knee while I was a mountain. He was a 285-pound white belt, and I mounted him. And he decided to throw his leg over to clear me out of mount. Well, my leg's on the other side. My foot was up here by my head. So it just shredded everything. Granted, the reason that happened, and it happened to me, is because I fought being swept off the mount. If I'd have just gone with it, I probably wouldn't have caught the injury. Same
Yeah.
thing with the shoulder. If I'd have just gone with it, I probably wouldn't have caught the injury. That's been the big recurring lesson in jiu-jitsu for me is, hey man, you're gonna get beat and you gotta go with it.
Yeah.
It's the heavy resisting and the ego of I can't lose, especially while professor is watching, that has led to all of my injuries, I feel.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, I haven't had those major injuries on the mats. I've had major injuries off. I've broken femur, blown out ACL, MCL, meniscus. But even this week, I was rolling with. He was actually a brand new guy. I don't know how many days he's trained, but a no stripe white belt, and I don't even know his name yet. And really strong former wrestler, and he is all gas right now. He is the proverbial white belt, no stripe, super spaz, but he's also strong and has some wrestling. And somehow we got caught where I had my arm behind my back, and he just started to. He had my body trapped, and he just started like levering it up, and so I verbal tapped loud, like people like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine, but I don't trust this guy yet, so I'm going to make
Right.
sure he knows absolutely stop before I suffer that catastrophic injury.
Yes.
And that's how you get to train tomorrow is tap early, tap often.
That's exactly it. And that's my favorite saying.
But yes, if you're listening and you're new and you're in a position where you don't feel like you can either get out at all and you're at risk of a major injury, you tap loudly, and that will keep you on the mats, especially if it's a brand new person that you're with. If it's somebody with experience, if it's a colored belt, you'll probably be okay. They know that, levering that arm that way.
Unless you said something about their mother or a close relative that they took offense to.
Okay, so
Then
I'll
you might want to
stop
look.
talking about people's mothers while we're.
Yeah, talk about them after the roll.
Yeah. So your brother, does he train?
No, he doesn't train at all anymore. He was a collegiate state wrestler, a D1 wrestler, and ever since college, he went to UNG
Okay.
and wrestled there. He God, I can't even remember if the Army has a wrestling program as well while he was in UNG. I don't know if he wrestled there. I think he just wrestled for UNG.
So depending on the year, so Army combatives, that it's not wrestling per se, but they have a great modern Army combatives is very largely based in Gracie combatives.
Yes.
Actually, my guest probably 3 or 4 weeks ago was General Ferreter, and he's who like facilitated the Army's implementation of Gracie combatives into the modern Army combatives. They call him the godfather of modern Army combatives, but he was training with like Hoist and those guys back in the day, and brought it in. So who's undefeated in your house, or is your brother still undefeated? Does he still?
No.
Yeah, you got him. You got him.
Yeah, I got him. I got him back at a younger age.
Okay.
I've only had one victory. He's had 1,000,000.
Yeah.
But we really haven't. Back when I got into MMA, when he came back home for Thanksgiving, I was like, "Hey, I'm ready." He was like, "No, I'm good." I'm like, "What do you mean you're good? Like I waited so long for this moment, and you're gonna deny me my revenge?" He was like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah." He's like, "I haven't wrestled in years and haven't fought," and I was like, I'm clearly the one who's been holding on to this wound.
Been training. It's time for Kumite. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
How much older is he than you?
8 years. 8
Okay.
years.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So I can see that. I'm 5 years older than my brother, and he doesn't train, and so I've been able to stay undefeated.
Yeah.
But he did get on. He tried jujitsu a couple times. He just was. So you described yourself as like military adjacent.
Yes.
So you have a lot of family that served.
Mhm.
So growing up in that kind of community, do you think that pushed you towards martial arts? The aspects of discipline and whatnot, or
In a roundabout way, I could say probably, yeah.
okay.
My grandfather wanted me to go to the military, and he treated me like I was in boot camp starting at the age of 12.
Okay.
So when it is his passing when I was 16, I was like, "Oh, I guess I don't have to do that anymore." He made it seem very distasteful to me at the time to go join it. I'd already been in boot camp for 4 years. I didn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
So it was, but I still wanted to go do something hard. And just the course life took me. I never signed up, never went in, but I always was, throughout family and especially friends. I don't know what it's been about the military sense of humor, but it maybe is the household I've been brought up in, between my grandfather, my brother, and my dad. It was all very much, I guess it must just make me feel like home, man. There's something about it, and I haven't really been able to pinpoint it other than just maybe it's the twisted but honest sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, we may see the beauty in all the dark sides of the world, but we always stand up for it. There's a lot more camaraderie, I feel like, in people who have done hard things together. You don't see that a lot in the common world, in the civilian world. There's not a lot of camaraderie there. When somebody says they're your friend, are they really your friend? But
Mm,
in a network of people that do like jujitsu is much like the military community, where there's more camaraderie in that than in most endeavors. And it's like fire departments is another big one.
hmm
Everybody fights for the person next to them, and I guess that's kind of the family style I was raised in. Is no matter our differences, we always stood up for each other. We were always together, always working together. Even if we were fighting at the time, it was still the common goal kind of thing.
yeah. I mean that hits home. This is not a political show. This past week has been ridiculous. There's not a really good way to
Yeah.
put it. You know, it's unfortunate that in so many areas of our country and in so many parts of the world, people can't find ways to just get past ideological differences. You know, one of the best things to happen to me this past week was after the day after Charlie Kirk was shot, I went and trained, and nobody said a word about anything political. We went in there,
Mhm.
we got on the mats, we did jujitsu, we talked about jujitsu, we enjoyed jujitsu for that time. And it was the best decompression uh, and unplugging from social media and that constant feed of anger and everything else that we see. Um,
Yeah,
that
and that's it's weighed heavy on my heart this week, seeing the divide between everybody. Actually, my first beginner jiu-jitsu class was 4 hours or 4 hours or so after I found out that
mhm,
Charlie Kirk had been assassinated, and it hangs heavy with me, regardless of where you stand politically and what your beliefs are. Is It's abhorrent where we're headed. We're fighting way too much. But like you say, to your point, yeah, jujitsu, it gets your mind off of it, at least for a little while. It was the same thing. Everybody was there. We had a smaller class that night because I'm sure a lot of people stayed home, worrying with worry and with sickness in their stomach. But same thing. We're there that time for that cause, and that's that. And when we leave there, we left there. But when we're there, there's nothing else that permeates your brain for the time being. So I almost didn't go to the first class that night, but I'm glad I did. I'm very glad I did because it allowed me to just have that time to process and realize as a nation, like you said, where we're standing with things is scary. I know this is not a political podcast, but I'm not gonna put my politics out there, but it frightens me. It really frightens me.
yeah, yeah. You know, I guess not everybody's going to do jujitsu, but some of the lessons that we have in how we treat each other on the mats, because I know for a fact that I train with people that don't have the same ideologies that I do,
Oh,
um,
of course.
to
Yeah,
the left and
absolutely.
to the right. Um, and none of us care about that, and we roll. It's like I had a police officer on the show a few weeks ago. Marcus talked about, it's the only place where he can go roll with a guy that may have been in legal trouble because of drugs or whatever else, and so you have the pothead rolling with the cop, and they get along
Yeah.
because they're both doing jujitsu, and that's what matters inside that uh, space.
That's a story I read that allegedly happened, that some purple belt had been arrested by a cop for possession of marijuana
Yeah,
and then got to roll with that cop like 2 years later. It is like, cops are like, where do I know you from? The purple's like, I don't know, buddy. You look familiar too. Why don't
yeah.
you get on that mat?
Yes, that's yeah, and you know what? I bet you that purple belt, showed him what he knew. Um,
Hmm.
but I bet you he didn't injure that cop, and
Right.
that's
Right.
because
He
we
did it with
respect,
respect.
yeah, we respect the space more than anything. So
Well, that in respect, the person you're rolling with isn't just your jujitsu competitor. He's your teammate.
mhm,
He may be a father. He may have 4 kids. He's gotta go to work tomorrow.
mhm.
He's gotta use his arm to operate machinery. He's gotta I mean, even if he's serving out burgers out of McDonald's, he's got something that he's gotta do outside of the jiu-jitsu gym. So, I like to tell people, especially in the beginning, take care of that person because the food they're putting on his family's table right now is in your hands.
Yeah, that's actually I've never heard it that way, but it makes so much sense to put it that way. We all talk about, hey, I want to go to work tomorrow, but make sure your teammate can go to work tomorrow too.
Right. You know what I have to go to work tomorrow looks like is me winning this role, is me hurting you. But to keep in mind that, hey, this is my buddy, Philip. Philip's a great guy. Philip's got a great family. He's got a really good job that he needs to show up for tomorrow. I
Yeah.
need to make sure Philip gets there.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the truth. And frankly, the faster that you can get people to understand that it's not an adversarial or competitive thing when you're rolling on a Tuesday night, um, and make them realize that they're your training partner, your teammates, and they want you to improve and get to their level if they're the ones teaching and helping you, for the purpose of making you a good, viable training partner that's a challenge to them so that we can all get better together.
Yep. That
So,
and us upper belts love to have the white belts and blue belts we've been teaching do great at competition.
mhm.
That's a rewarding feeling for us too. We're like, look at our kid go.
Yeah.
You did it.
Yeah. Amen.
There's definitely that dual reward to it. I want you to do well for you, but I want you to do well for me too. I guess it's also, verification that you know what you're talking about as well.
Yeah. It's just like, if you're raising kids, it's when they do something that you teach them to do, it's you get that reward back. Um, so you mentioned that you've trained with like Vanderlei and Shogun and
Yes.
some other names. What do you have a story that kind of stuck through, that
I
you
could tell
think?
you Vanderlei is probably the scariest guy I've ever shared a mat with. I was terrified of that man. He came up to the Atlanta X3 location to do a seminar and started rolling with some people. And good God, that guy, he's that old school kind of jujitsu
Mhm.
that is just terrifying. I mean, he was named the Axe Murderer for a reason. The guy was he looked cold blooded, man. And when he gave instruction, you did it. You
Mhm.
just did it perfectly, or else Vanderlei was coming to talk to you, man. Shogun did the same thing with us. We trained with him there. Yeah, I think they had Anderson Silva up there as well, but I wasn't able to make it to that one. Uh, but Vanderlei was direct lineage and a black belt given by the same black belt as Helio Morera was. So a direct training partner to him. So we got to enjoy his presence. Alan Belcher was another fighter that came through our circuit. And he's a big boy.
Yeah.
Watching him and Helio Morera is a pretty small guy. He I think he competed at the 145, 155 in jiu-jitsu, and didn't cut much weight to do so. He might have gone down to 125, 135 at most if he could cut. But to watch him roll with Allen and rolling with Allen too, Allen was ridiculously strong. Like
Mhm.
he's probably one of the strongest guys I've ever rolled with in my life. But to watch what Helio could do to him, man, I was
Yeah.
like, this is amazing. Jiu-jitsu is king. The other names were people I trained directly under. Roberto Travin, UFC legend and jiu-jitsu legend, especially here in Atlanta. Roberto Travin, shout out to you, Roberto. Thank you for starting my journey. I trained directly under Diego Saraiva, which is another UFC veteran. I got to train with Rafael Sunsao, which is a recent contender that unfortunately never got the title shot that I feel like he deserved. But that's a controversial topic. We'll discuss another day. Um, God, who else? Douglas Lima and Diego Lima.
Mhm.
Probably the last person I'd ever want to kick me again is Douglas Lima. The man is the nastiest kick I've ever seen in my life. The Ultimate Fighter hosted Clint Hester, which was one of my direct training partners at X3. And I remember when he came on, I remember watching his debut fight with him. It was the season with Chael Sonnen and John Jones.
Okay.
I can't remember what season number that was, but I remember watching his debut fight. And if you ever seen, are you much of a Marvel fan?
Yeah. I mean, I dabble. I've
Have you
seen
seen that
some of the
scene
movies.
where Thor's in the ring with Hulk and he gets smashed and look, he's like, that's how it feels.
Yeah.
That was that moment for me watching Clint Hester fight somebody on there, and then the noise he can make when he hits you, man. It sounded like taking that math book on the ground. But the most impressive part about him wasn't the fact that he could do that to you. It was the positions he could do it out of, and he had
Mhm.
the most unorthodox fighting style I've ever tried to spar against. He'd hit you, I mean, with the whole barn out of nowhere. You're like, oh, he's in no good position to strike on me here. And next thing you know, you're seeing stars and getting back up off the ground. But I remember when Chael, John Jones, and Dana White were listening to the punches, the paint over them, every punch, they're just like, oh my God, oh my God. I'm like, yeah. I know how that feels. Ask
Yeah,
me about it.
yeah. It's when you get to spar with somebody like that, or roll with somebody that was at those kind of high levels, it is eye opening. It is a different kind of grip that those guys have, or punch or
Yes,
kick.
it is.
Yeah, it's there are
Yeah.
levels to this.
I know my style, and I know when and where my style will trump something. Like there's fighters out there that fight for the UFC that I feel good and confident I would beat even at their peak, just because my style is going to kill theirs. But the levels of that, where you get exposed to people who have so many different styles that just kill you too, and how good they are at it, it's truly eye opening. I remember my first time sparring with somebody who wasn't a classmate or hobbyist anymore in Muay Thai, and
Hmm.
this guy, dude, I had never seen anything like it. Didn't matter what I did, it was the wrong thing.
Hmm.
You know, there was no competitive edge I had on him. I was completely I was a body with no arms and feet dropped into the water, and he was the shark.
Yeah.
I was just floating bait, man. And to be able to witness that firsthand and see the levels of, like, UFC fighters, Bellator fighters, Pride fighters, there's some levels to this that I don't think, and that's what I always love about the overestimation of a beginner's ability, is they don't realize that the person just did that to a professional,
Hmm.
but he made it look easy. So they think, oh, it must be really the Dunning-Kruger effect. It must be really easy to fight. I bet I'd be so bad. And that was me walking into MMA at 2009, like, oh boy, I'm gonna go kill these guys. I'm 220 pounds of raw fury, and I was 220 pounds of unconsciousness really quick.
I think any UFC fight should start with somebody that's untrained has to go in
Right?
and fight the first fight, just to remind everybody else that doesn't train or is not a fighter that uh no, it's a different kind of animal.
Very different.
What's something that you learned from those high level guys that you try to pass on when you're teaching beginners?
Determination is what makes it happen. It's not your motivation that's going to make you a great fighter. It's your determination to make yourself better. The guys who are at that level didn't get there by an accident. They put in that high caliber work and made sure their lifestyle was catered to the fact that they were going to be great at this. It was no short, easy task. It was not an overnight success. Well, we've all seen our prodigies come through, but even those prodigies need to be taught. And those prodigies are usually more likely to give it their all, because they get the good pat on the back, good boy, good job, a lot more than other people do. But it's the number one takeaway is, until you are willing to put in that kind of work, shut up about it. Either you're going to go do it or you're not.
Yeah.
And that's just the raw fact. If you want to be the best, that's not going to come by looking cool, doing fancy moves and stuff like that. That's going to come from you showing up and making you and everybody else around you better. Because it was also a skill level that's next to you. If I'm a really good fighter, like world class, but the only people I can spar with are people that are hobbyists, I'm never going to elevate my skill to the true world class level, because I'm not in a room with world class guys. And that's to make your partner better, to make yourself better. So give away your weaknesses. Say, hey, when I do this, don't step in this direction or open your stance this way because you're giving me a channel to hit you. Instead, do this. Well, now your move is no longer going to work on. Like, I can't tell you in jiu-jitsu how many times I give away my moves. Like, I'll hit people with it for a while and be like, hey, by the way, this is what I'm doing to you. In order to have me not do it anymore, do this, because now I'm going to have to find another approach to get to that. And that's what a lot of the pro guys do, is they don't give away they give away their secrets to their training partner to make themselves feel better, and or make themselves not feel better, but actually be better. And they make sure that their training partners are getting better too.
Yeah, absolutely. I also, whenever I tap somebody that's, a white belt or whatever, I tell them what it was, especially when I get them with something that they don't understand, like what it was.
Yeah.
You know, I have a pretty sneaky lapel choke that sometimes when I put it in, they're like, what, where did that come from? So I'll show them that, but yeah, showing them how to beat your best move is the best way for you to find new moves and new ways to get
Yep.
out of problems. Um,
Yeah, because if I'd have just had it my way, I would have stopped at the Kimura, because I could do everything off of the Kimura as long as I didn't show people how to shut me down for a while. I could take
yeah,
your back, I could sweep you, I could do an armbar, I could tap you out there. Because the Kimura was the only thing I needed, but I knew I needed to give up that entire secret. Is, hey, when I do this and I'm doing this, just step over my head and go for the far side armbar. If I'm doing this, just stop right there and put your knee in my belly and I can't take your back. Now I don't use the Kimura as much, but I know a whole lot other ways to skin this cat.
Yeah. If someone walked in off the street, their first class, what do you want them to know first?
Protect yourself and protect your partner. That's number one. The first and foremost thing. Second is to have fun. You know, where we try to cultivate a fun environment where we will make you an assassin and make you a killer, but you're going to have fun doing so. And honestly, coming in off the street, especially if a lot of those people in the gym are already colored, like our gym was started off, because we didn't have a lot of white belts at first. So getting a white belt to come in, they were terrified. You got to be okay with losing for the first couple of years. You know, this is not something you're going to jump into and just be immediately great and kick everybody's butt. You really have to humble yourself down and be okay with the fact that I'm going to have no competitive edge or advantage, or maybe not even put anybody in a bad position for possibly 2 years until that new white belt walks in. Now you got somebody.
Yeah. That's the fun day.
Be patient and don't compare your journey to other people. You know, you and I are testaments to that. I'm 15 years into jiu-jitsu alone, and I'm a purple belt now. You know, we see Derek Moneyberg as a black belt in 3.5 years. Been nice if I could. It would be nice if I was smart enough to do that like him.
Yeah, you know, I have, so with all my social media, all my daily posting on, you know, my socials, I have yet to mention Mr. Moneyberg. And most of that's because I don't want to assassinate anybody's character if I don't know him.
Right.
Something's kind of funky there.
Could he be legitimate? Yeah,
He
man.
could be.
I mean, if you do have that money and that intellect and the access to those kind of black belts, they can make you a black belt in 3.5 years.
Yeah.
Do you listen to a guy named Chewy Jiu-Jitsu?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Nick Albin?
Yeah. I'm going to try to get him on the
guy.
show someday.
Yeah. Dude, that's awesome. Let me know. I'll definitely watch that. I love him to death. He was as a white belt whose videos I always watch because he was more about the philosophy of jiu-jitsu rather than, hey, here's this cool fancy move. I already know I'm not gonna be able to do that fancy move. My professor is gonna watch me do it lap and then proceed to do it to me.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a waste of my time to learn this. So I liked his philosophy videos, and he made one about that, Derek Moneyberg.
Yeah.
What does it mean to be a black belt? What does that mean? Are we a world-class competitor? Are we winning Pan Ams and Worlds? Or what about teaching? Are we teaching people? Is a black belt somebody who can relay the information? There's no one set definition of what a black belt looks like.
Yeah.
We can all be pissed off and upset that he got his black belt in 3.5 years, but this is back to my point about what to tell a new person. Comparison is the thief of joy. Your jiu-jitsu journey is unique to you and you alone. I spent plenty of years being pissed off that I hadn't got my blue belt. Spent plenty of years pissed off that I didn't get my purple belt. I think I only got belted to purple belt when I stopped giving a shit at all about the belts.
Yeah.
I don't care about the belts. Jiu-jitsu is the journey. It is the way. And if I'm going to be focused on the destination and not the journey, then you're missing the big point to jiu-jitsu. It's the everyday clocking in, clocking out of the mat. It's all the rush of it, all the quiet time. It's going to take what it takes. If you really want to accelerate your journey, dedicate as much mat time as you can, and that's all you can do. You're not going to speed up your ability to learn things quickly if you don't. Me personally, I'm a very clumsy person naturally, so for me to get the grace of jiu-jitsu down into my body took a long time.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like I wasn't the prodigy kid by any means. I was the idiot Tom over in the corner. Like, hey, Tom, you got that move? Okay, yeah, he doesn't get what we're saying, but they still let me be there.
Yeah.
And it's taken what it's taken, man. When you start jiu-jitsu, if you truly love it, just let the journey be yours and yours alone.
Yeah.
You don't need to compare it to the Derek Moneybergs because BJ Penn did it quicker than that. BJ Penn did it in the 3 years.
BJ Penn was also beating everybody in competition.
Yes, he was.
And so was Cautera. And here's what I'm going to say on the Moneyberg thing. I've heard a couple of things said. Number one, Joe Rogan said that if Jake Shields gave him his black belt, then he's probably a legitimate black belt.
Yeah, Jake Shields doesn't play around.
I've also listened to Mike Musumeci was on, I can't remember whose podcast it was, but they were talking about
Jones.
They were talking about Moneyberg. Did you hear him? And he said, he mentioned Moneyberg doesn't train. I don't think he meant to mention it, but it like came out.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
what he meant by that was Moneyberg doesn't train in classes. Moneyberg only does privates.
okay.
So is he a cash paid black belt? Yeah. Yeah, he is. But if you have the time and the money to pay these people, are we going to see him come out and compete? If he comes out and competes and beats a black belt, I'll shut up. I have no problem eating humble pie. But do I think he's a legitimate black belt?
The thing that I remind myself is that his black belt has absolutely zero to do with my life. Going back to Comparison's
That's
Thief of
it.
Joy
That's it
and My
exactly.
Journey's My Journey, him having his black belt does not degrade whatever it is that I end up earning because I'm going to know what I earned. Um,
Exactly. And
and
he can't take it away from you.
correct. And so I'm not going to try to take it away from him. I do have questions, but again, I don't know the guy, so I can't
Yeah.
assassinate his character.
I'd love the opportunity to roll with him. I mean,
Yeah,
you can tell
I
real
would
quick when you
sign me
rock
up.
with somebody.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
Um,
I love, and if he beat my butt, he beat my butt.
yeah. And he's, what, he's in maybe, like, let's say he's legitimate. He's in a terrible position because of the perception that he bought his belt.
Yes.
And so if he goes out and he rolls with another black belt and that black belt beats him, half the internet, even if he looked good, like if objectively you're like,
Uh-huh.
okay, that was good jujitsu, 3/4 of anybody that watches it going to go, see, he's not a black belt.
Yeah.
So,
I would like to think the
and
casuals would be like
a
that.
lot of those
That
will be white
yeah.
belts saying, oh, yeah, see, he's not a black
Yeah.
belt. Um,
Yep.
and I suppose like my lineage teaching is a part of how you are going to, the way that Robin says, get your name on the wall. You can get to brown belt on ability and being technically sound, but being a good human being and knowing how to teach is how you get your name on the wall. And that's how he does his black belts all teach. And so that's going to be part of my journey. And I don't need to worry about money, Bert.
Yeah. Being able to identify myself as less of the competitor, I knew I was going to be more of the teacher in jiu-jitsu because teaching is my passion. I love transferring knowledge to people, but that's to me, that's my path to black belt is I'm going to be a teacher. Do you have to? Mm,
Yeah.
each gym is different. Each gym has their own criteria to what a black belt is.
Mm-hmm.
So like yours, if you want to be on the wall, you're going to be a teacher. And I feel like that's a great honor. If I'm allowed to teach under my black belt, and especially if I get my black belt to be able to have that honor, be like, here's your own gym, that there's nothing that would mean more to me.
Even the idea that your professor has you teaching at a purple belt, or you have blue belts teaching, you taught blue as a blue belt the kids programs. The fact that your professor has enough trust in you to go and teach the art of how to dismantle a human body efficiently um, says a lot, right? I think I would like to, if I can find a way to get the opportunity, I'd love to have instructor bars before I get my black belt.
I was actually just thinking I
Yeah.
joked around with my professor about that the other day. I was like, hey, can I get my professor bars on the purple belt?
It happens actually. So I at Team Chitwood, I had a brown belt when I first got there. His name is Mark Hartso, and he was a brown belt when I got there, and he had professor bars on his brown belt, and he is a tremendous teacher. He's a big reason why I was willing to start training there. Is Mark is he's a great human being, and he's got absolutely savage jujitsu. He's a black belt now, but back in those days, yeah, I was like, wow, you can get those bars on.
All
And
right.
I think it's
Now,
a certain number
now
of
I got to tell
hours.
them there's no excuse. I know it's
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I think in some rare cases there are purple belts that end up with those instructor bars.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. So it's possible.
Certainly not not the destination I'm looking forward to though. It's always the journey.
Correct. Yeah.
Yep.
So and you have kids. You have a son.
I do have a son.
Yeah.
Yes, I got a 14-year-old son.
Okay. You got him training.
Yep. Oh yeah, yeah. As
Okay.
much as he cares to, he plays more soccer. Jiu-jitsu is kind of dad's thing right now. He was into it a little bit when he was younger, but he's in that 13 to 15 range of he's going to go find himself. So I'm of the mindset of the father that I'm going to force nothing upon him, and I'm going to let him figure out what he enjoys. Jiu-jitsu at its core is enjoyable. I feel like he will come back to it, but I'm not going to force him to. I got a wonderful woman I'm dating who I plan on being with forever, and she's got 2 daughters, and both of them are training, and they both love it. And one of them is now joining us in the adult class, and she's one of those prodigies. She's going to be a killer.
That's tremendous.
Um, she's got all the right skill sets to learn this quickly, and so does the younger one. I mean, they're both phenomenal at understanding this really quickly. So that's cool to watch. And I know through that, my son will probably come back and be like, well, hey, they're doing jujitsu. Maybe I want to come do it again too. But right now, soccer is the love of his life.
That's awesome. Actually, and I'm dropping all my previous guest names tonight. One of my previous guests, his name is Mitch Potter. He talked about how special it is when you let your kids sing their own song, and when you see that
Yeah.
spark and they're doing something, as a parent, being able to watch them get into the thing that they want to get into and do
Yep.
well and enjoy it. You don't
Yeah.
have to force them into what you want.
Yeah. Exactly. So maybe I feel a certain way about that because of the way my family was with me. Is that almost everything I did was predetermined, and anything I wanted to do was no, you can't do that. So, like, even down in the sports, I had to play. Like, I played soccer growing up, but that's because I wanted to play football. But my mother told me, as long as you're in my house, you're not playing football, because I've seen kids with broken. She's an ER trauma nurse. So
Okay.
if you have a mother who's an ER trauma nurse, you don't grow up being able to do anything. Like,
Mothers of
you're wearing
America.
a bike. You're wearing a helmet every time you get on a bike. When you
Yep.
get on your rollerblades, you're making sure you click in your seatbelt, and you're not playing any violent contact sports. That's why MMA for me was after I got out of the house.
That makes
I
sense.
could do point fighting, karate, and taekwondo because we were geared up and padded. But if I was going to go knocking people's teeth out, or risking mine getting knocked out, you're going to wait till you're on your own insurance. And I don't want you to be living under my house and being my baby child when that
Yeah.
happens. So I was definitely play the safe route.
So if your son listens to this episode someday, what's the biggest lesson you want him to hear from you?
Be yourself. Just do what you love, and don't let any of us force it on you. And everything worth doing is usually a little bit hard. When you find that thing you truly love, pursue it and have it be hard, because it'll make you better, better at it, better person. The easy way out is never the right pursuit. So find what you love and go make it difficult.
Okay. That's a good way to put it. And that's, I think, how we're going to wrap this episode up. Tom,
Awesome.
I appreciate you being on the show. If you are listening, please like and subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Um, Leave a comment. That's going to help the algorithm maybe push these episodes out to more people. And then if you have friends that you think might be interested, why don't you just share the episode? That's again, that helps me. Maybe it'll help them. If you found some value in what you heard today, please hook me up, Tommy.